Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Ariba and I'm a children's book illustrator and a graphic designer. Today we are diving into a really big topic. Is art school really worth it? I know it's a big question and there are so many other opinions out there. Today I want to share my personal experience, what I've learned, and give you a realistic perspective of whether or not it's worth it. Don't forget to check out my previous video about my journey from becoming a doctor to becoming a designer. Grab a snack, get comfy because this is going to be a deep dive. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is art school? It's an educational setting where aspiring artists go to develop their skills, learn about art history, explore different mediums, and build portfolios. There are so many different sections in art school. You could be going there to learn about fine arts, graphic design, illustration, and even animation. It's also a space where you can meet like-minded people and get feedback from professionals. Sounds great, right? But is it really worth all that money, time, and effort? Let's break it down. I went to art school for 4 years to get my degree in graphic design. And I am not going to lie when I say this that it was not easy. I started because I was passionate about art and wanted to improve my skills. As someone who had a background in medicine, I hadn't had any classes where I could improve my art skills. Let's talk about how I got into art school in the first place. When I gave my entry test for art school, most of the questions were focused on creativity rather than skill. And so I got in. I didn't know anyone when I got there. All my friends had gone to medical school. I was excited to learn, but I quickly realized that art school wasn't what I had expected. For starters, it's more than just drawing and painting all day. There is a lot of physical work that goes into foundation year. Foundation year is where you learn about different fields of art. For example, even though I was majoring in graphic design, I had to learn about fine arts, I had to learn about architecture, and I had to go through classes where I had to create sculptures and do some woodwork. I did not like that. I'm someone who gets tired easily and I was exhausted. Besides that, it's a lot of theory, critiques, and sometimes you feel like you're not good enough. And during that time, many people do lose their confidence. Art school is stressful. It's not as glamorous as they show in the movies. There is a stereotype about art school that it is very easy to get through, but that's not true. There is a lot of pressure to constantly create, and the critiques, they are not easy to handle. Not all criticism is constructive, and even the constructive criticism is not always right. But looking back, I wouldn't trade the experience. I met some amazing people who encouraged me, learned incredible techniques, was able to develop a portfolio that opened doors for me. But more importantly, I found my own path. Was it worth it? That's a harder question to answer, and it depends what you're trying to get out of the experience. Let's talk about the positives. So the biggest pro about art school is that it makes you push your boundaries. In the real world, you can avoid things that challenge you. But in art school, you are pushed to try new things, experiment with different styles, and push your boundaries. That's where you really start to grow. And it's not for everyone. Many people can break down easily. They can also lose their confidence and their passion for art, especially if you do art to relax and consider it as a hobby. If that's the case, art school is probably not for you. Another huge benefit is the access to professors and professionals. If you're lucky enough to have teachers who are practicing artists, you can learn a lot from them. You get a chance to learn directly from someone who's been in the industry for years. Not to mention that you're surrounded by peers who share the same passion as you. And the collaborations can lead to lasting friendships, projects, and even skill. I learned some amazing skills from my professors, and I doubt that I would have learned them had I been learning from YouTube. I am definitely someone who needs a professional setting when it comes to learning new things. And let's not forget the opportunities. Art school often offers connections to galleries, internships, and shows that could launch your career. If you're interested in working or networking in a specific field, such as graphic design, animation, and architecture, you can get an inside look at those industries. As I said before, it can open a lot of doors. It also forces you to socialize and explore new places. Since many of us artists are introverts, we tend to avoid meeting new people, and that limits us from networking. But art school forces you to interact and interview different people, sometimes for research, but other times to help promote your work. I got to explore many different places when I was in art school, but my favorite has to be the zoo, where I got to sketch different animals. Now, does all that translate to success in the art world? Not always. But if you use the connections and the knowledge wisely, art school can provide a strong foundation. For many, art school can limit their potential. Sometimes the harsh criticism makes you give up on your art. Now let's talk about the not so glamorous side, the cons. First up, cost. Art school is expensive, like really expensive. And it's not just the tuition, and that's not it. I was told to buy a camera and a drawing tablet, and neither of those items are cheap, but at least those are one-time investments. Every day I would be buying sketching paper, paints, pencils, rubbers. The list is never ending. I haven't even included the traveling cost because you will be traveling a lot when you're in art school. When you're talking about years of education, that can add up fast. For some people like me, it's worth the investment. But if you're not sure that a traditional setting is for you, it can be a lot of money to risk, especially if you aren't able to get a job after art school. I am someone who hates realism, so all those drawing classes that focused on realism weren't really of any use to me. Here are some of my projects from art school, and you guys can see I don't focus on realism as such. A hyena. I drew a lot more stuff, but I don't have it. So let's go back to the cons. There's a lot of pressure. Oh my god. In art school, you will constantly be critiqued, sometimes by people who don't support you. Feedback is valuable, yes, but when it's not constructive, it really hurts. It can really mess up with your self-esteem. And let's not forget the workload. You'll be juggling multiple projects in a day, and deadlines are very near to each other. Sometimes these projects don't align with your personal interests, so it can feel draining. I remember staying up all night just to complete art projects, and this happened a lot. Another problem that comes with this is that you aren't able to be as creative as you would be if you had more time. And then there's the issue of not always being prepared for the real world. Just because you graduate from art school doesn't mean you'll automatically get hired by Disney or some big company. There is a lot of competition. Sometimes the lessons you learn in art school don't translate into the reality of working as an artist, and networking plays a huge part, and that's the reality of the situation. So yeah, art school isn't a magic ticket to success. It's more about learning how to create, thinking critically, and learning the business side of art. But you have to be realistic about the outcome. So after all that, is art school really worth it? For me, personally, yes. If you're someone who thrives in a creative environment, loves to be surrounded by creative minds, and wants someone to push you to grow, then art school can be an amazing experience for you. But if you're someone who prefers learning at your own pace and doesn't want to spend a lot of money on art school, then I guess it isn't for you. Art school is not for everyone, and I think that's the biggest takeaway I want to leave you with. It can be worth it if you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve. It's okay if you think it's not the right fit. The world is full of successful artists who didn't go to art school. They learned through practice, experimentation, and self-study. If you're on the fence about art school, here are some alternatives. First, online learning has come a long way. There are amazing websites like Skillshare that can provide tutorials to learn about art. Even YouTube can teach you anything from basic drawing to realism. Most of these courses are even free, and they allow you to learn at your own pace. Social media can be a great way for you to learn about art and also build connections with professional artists. They can provide criticism and also get you jobs. But you need to focus on building a personal network. So after all this, what is the verdict? Is art school really worth it? It depends on your goals, personality, and financial situation. For me, it helped me grow as an artist and as a person. But I know others who left art school because it wasn't the right fit for them, and it was a traumatic experience instead. The good news is, there are so many different ways to become a good artist, whether or not you go to art school. I hope this video helped clear up some of your questions. If you've been to art school, or if you're thinking about going to it, I'd love to hear your thoughts below in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.